You know what keeps me awake at night? The idea that I could miss something. Literally, it keeps me awake because what if something awesome happens during the night? On the plus side, I was able to see how much a banana ripens overnight, but on the downside, I ended up missing the entire next day. But when it comes to awesome video games you might have missed, typically people will suggest games you've never even heard of. Makes sense, but what about games you've heard of but never played? At least you've likely heard of part of the name before because it's in a series you know and love. I mean, do you really need to play 30 different Mega Man games? Hardcore fans of the series might tell you yes, but what about us folks who just play Mega Man 2, 3X and then move on with our lives? Well, you could certainly do that. I'm typically not in the business of preventing people from moving on with their lives, except when it comes to moving on from older games in general, but it's easy to forget and or think there's nothing left to get out of a series after you've played the most highly praised games, when there's still other games you haven't played yet. My first suggestion would be Mega Man 8, which you can get for either the PlayStation or Sega Saturn, and you can either pay a ton of money for or not a ton of money for, depending which console you go for and if you decide to get a Japanese version or not. I went Japanese Saturn myself. Or you can just play it on one of the various collections. What Mega Man 8 highlights for me is just because a game isn't your favorite in the series doesn't mean it can't still be super awesome, or still considered the best game in the series by some people, including maybe you. But even if Mega Man 8 ended up being your, let's say, third favorite Mega Man game, wouldn't you say it's still worth playing? To me, Mega Man 8 hits all the notes of a solid Mega Man game. Interesting enemies, bosses, clever stage design, fun weapons to use. If you follow my advice and go into it with an open mind, you'll probably have a good time. Go into it taking things too seriously, and well, you're on your own. Taking things really seriously often doesn't pay off. I put googly eyes on stuff that scares me. What pops out the most to me with Mega Man 8 is just what a visual marvel the game is. So much color and so many different animations occurring on screen. It's just a blast. Well worth taking the time to play. And yeah, I get it. Some of you might be thinking, listen, buddy, I would love to play it, but my busy schedule wouldn't, including my fussy downstairs bathroom that I've had the plumber come over 3 different times to take a look at. I hear ya. Your toilet is a jerk. For the next game, we've got Gradius Gaiden, or Gradius Gaiden, or Gradius Gaiden, but who cares how it's pronounced? It's all about how it plays. Wait, hold on, some people are still hung up on the pronunciation. Well, while they sort that out, the rest of us will talk about the actual game. When it comes to shoot 'em ups, Gradius is probably one of the most well-known series out there. Trouble is, shoot 'em ups have become a more niche genre these days, but they were a lot more mainstream back in the day, and almost everyone played a Gradius game at some point. But probably not this one because it was only released in Japan. Hey, you win some, you lose some. Japan got awesome video games, we got Squeeze-Its. That said, this game did eventually get released as part of a collection for the PSP outside of Japan. In any case, if you love the Gradius series, you'll probably love this game. It was developed for the PlayStation, as opposed to other Gradius titles that were developed for the arcade and then ported over. This meant it was designed with the PlayStation in mind, taking advantage of the hardware and various special effects it was capable of, such as scaling, rotation, morphing, transparencies, the sound of the console running that always sounds like it's breaking, but most importantly, uses it all in tandem with fun and clever level design that always keeps the stages interesting, such as environmental effects like snow in Stage 1. If you're looking for a game that shows off what the PlayStation is capable of as far as 2D games go, this is a good one to do it. Now, before I bring up the next game, I want to quickly address something that I know people are foaming at the mouth for more of in video games. using keyboards. What you doing there? Gonna type up a school essay? Nope. Gonna play some Typing of the Dead. Remember now, the Sega Dreamcast is an unapologetic dirty dog, and a console that really went wild with different accessories for its various games. Whether it be the twin stick, maracas, fishing rod, light gun, microphone to scream at a fish guy, or the Sega keyboard. By the way, don't judge my typing in this gameplay footage. This is the position I had to get into in order to film it without obstructing the view. Everything hurts now. What's great about this game is how self-aware it is. Remember how I said taking things really seriously often doesn't pay off? Well, this game knows that, embracing how ridiculous it is and providing a lot of fun. Not all games are this self-aware. Just the other day, my copy of Dark Souls was bragging about how it pioneered difficult games. Most people have played one of the House of the Dead games at some point, most likely, in an arcade or on a Dreamcast. I mean, it's an iconic series, but are far less likely to have played this. Great for co-op too. My wife can type like 3 times faster than me, making her the ultimate teammate, and boy do I love it. For the next game, we've got a Castlevania game. How could we not? And the game I'd like to talk about is often referred to as Castlevania Chronicles, but is also sometimes called What Is This?, seeing as it was originally released for the Sharp 68000, which you want to talk about something that basically nobody owns? Here you go. It makes sense that a lot of people didn't know about this, given the PlayStation release came out in 2001 at the end of the original PlayStation's life. And to give some context, it was a 2D game at a time when 3D was all the rage. Needless to say, it was overlooked. But situation rectified, because we're looking at it now. The game itself doesn't necessarily do anything that deviates wildly from the rest of the series, but to its credit, as it delivers a solid classic Castlevania experience. Essentially being a remake of the original Castlevania game, though it still feels like a different game, and the Castlevania series is known for reusing certain thematic elements anyways. So you'll feel right at home if you're a fan of the more classic Castlevania games, that is, the ones that don't use the more exploration-based formula like Symphony of the Night does. The game is visually impressive though. I think it looks really nice and the soundtrack is an absolute banger. Plus, you can choose between different sound modules and they differ quite a bit. I tell you what, I can't speak for all of you, but few things in life I can depend on like a classic Castlevania experience. Even my beloved nanners have been known to dog me dirty from time to time when I run out of bites. But then I remember I can just eat the peel. For the last game I'll be talking about, we have Land of Illusion. Many people have played Castle of Illusion and maybe even World of Illusion, but probably not Land of Illusion because it's on the Sega Master System. Though it is also on the Game Gear, but that's not exactly a console everybody's played either, and I'd recommend the Master System version anyways. This game is not only a game in the Illusion series that many people missed, but might even be the absolute best game in the series. I find myself thinking that. The game feels a bit more dynamic than other entries, due to the fact that you can acquire new abilities that let you then go back to levels and reach areas that were previously unavailable. From a technical level, it really shows off what the Master System could do as well, pushing the hardware, and I love the way the game uses color. Movement in the game feels a lot zippier than it does in the Genesis games as well, which I appreciate because I've always felt the Genesis games move a bit too slow. What can I say? I like a little zip with my skip. But that does it for the games that I wanted to talk about in this video. Of course, I'm sure some of you have indeed played some of these games. After all, my game room isn't the only place these games have ever been played. Unlike some other games like Duck Duck Nanner, I win every time. That said, I'd be curious to hear how many of the 5 games I talked about today each of you has played, and As a bonus, perhaps any other games you'd like to nominate as good games and series that you think a lot of people have missed. So, with that, leave your comment down below, and I will see ya in the next video.